This one is really fun. I don't know. I would love to actually hear in the chat whether you use HubSpot in this way. It surprises me when we get into HubSpot instances that are existing who have Marketing Hub Pro or higher, how few companies are doing this, because it's a really powerful feature in HubSpot because it allows you to adjust targeting based on CRM information, which gives us a leg up because our CRM has more information than our ad platforms have. So ad platforms allow us to shift targeting as well based on user behavior, but HubSpot allows us to do it based on user behavior as well as other CRM data, again, that we can't necessarily get into those ad platforms to dynamically act on. So this is where we are actually going to move people in and out of ad audiences based on actions they perform, ICP tier, whether they suddenly started surging and showing a high level of intent. We built the buying committee, whatever the deal stage has progressed, whatever that may be, we can actually move people in and out of ad audiences in HubSpot by using lists. First thing you need to do, you're going to see this as a common theme. We actually need to define the audiences for targeting. So that's the number one thing that we have to do. The next thing that we have to do is define our trigger events or qualifications for being added to or removed from an audience. So what is going to be the reason we put somebody in an audience or we take somebody out of an audience? And then we need to create lists for those audiences, because that's how we're going to do our list in HubSpot, is creating lists for our audience. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the features that are used. So we're going to use lists, we're going to use ads, we're going to use workflows, we're going to use smart content. Now let's go ahead and go live. We're going to create a company list for intent and create a contact list for intent. We're going to create an ad audience based on a company list, and we're going to create an ad audience based on a contact list, and we're going to add companies to the list based on intent, and we're going to add contacts to the list based on company intent and buying role. And then we're going to change the content delivery using smart content and those lists. So I know that's a lot of steps, but this one is really exciting and really helpful. So let's jump right in. First thing we've got to do is create that list, right? It's super easy. And here's the secret. You need to use a static list. If you're going to move people in and out of ad audiences, you need to use a static list. So please go ahead and remember that. Take note of that. You cannot move people in and out of ad audiences if you do not use a static list, okay? So now we also have the same thing with our contact list. We are going to go ahead and just set it up, no parameters. It's not an active list. You just need to make the list. So that part is easy peasy. All you have to do is you just go to create list, right? You go to create list, and then you just decide whether it's going to be a contact or company list. You select status and you go ahead and name your list. Okay, so that is step one. Step two of this is to create an ad audience. So now what we want to do is we want to go over here and you want to go ahead and you go ahead to create an audience. Okay, so now what you would do is you are going to go ahead and say that it's based on a company list, right? So I'm going to go here. And I am going to get my tier 1 companies, and I'm going to choose our LinkedIn account, and we're just going to say tier 1, top of funnel. Okay. And then that would go ahead and allow me to create an audience. All right. And now we can see that we have another audience here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so that I can make a new one here for this example. So now what I want to do is I also want to create an audience for, and actually I need to refresh that because it did not get my audience I deleted. So now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to create a contact one as well. So this one is going to be for our, let's see, oh yeah, it's our high intent contacts. And we're going to say high intent contacts, tier 1. Okay, so now we have these two audiences. So that's the next step, right? We have to take these processes. Oops, let me grab the ad account. We've got to take these processes step by step, and it's not allowing me to grab it right. Oops, it's not allowing me to grab it right now, so we won't make it, but that is how you do make it. So we created an ad audience based on a company list, and we created an ad audience based on a contact list. So now we need to add we need to add companies to the audience based on their intent. Okay. So here's what we would do for this. This is based on external intent or internal intent. So if the company score is greater than 100, or the drill down source data is from Bombora, because we would know that's our intent audience, we're going to go ahead and move these people into high intent ICP tier 1 companies. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that that is the audience that is being targeted with our high intent campaigns. And then what happens is when somebody is low intent, you go ahead and remove them from that audience. Okay. So now we're going to take a look at adding, we can do the same thing, adding contacts to the list. So just like we did with the companies, what we would do is in this one, we said, if you are from Bombora and your ideal customer profile is tier 1 or tier 1 plus install, and you're a decision maker, and you have a job title that contains any of marketing. That's how we know these are the people we want to target. So we would go ahead and add those people to that list when they have the high intent. And again, if that list is associated with an advertising audience, it's going to move them to that list. And then we just use workflows to add and remove people to those lists based on their behaviors, their level of intent. So if their score goes back down, then we can go ahead and move them off of that list. Okay. And then the next thing that we're going to go ahead and take a look at is how we actually change that content delivery, right? So the way that we do that is with our smart content, because, well, we can do it a couple of ways. We can do it with our smart content because we can go ahead and add a smart rule, and our smart rule can be based on the contact list membership. Okay. So then we're going to add a rule saying that if you're on the high intent list, then we're going to go ahead and serve you a different version of that content. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And now we're going to have a different version for the people who are in high intent. Another way that we can do this as well is to do this with workflows, right? So we can update our workflows for our nurtures based on the list that somebody is on. And then when somebody is, oops, 1 second, let me go ahead and do that. Okay. So then what we can do here is based on the list that somebody is on, we can go ahead and decide whether they receive this or not, right? So we can go ahead and say list membership. So if they're on the high intent list, then we're going to go ahead and serve them this nurture. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to settings, and we're going to go ahead with unenrollment and suppression is if somebody no longer qualifies for this workflow because they're no longer on that list, we're going to go ahead and remove it so that we can get them into the right nurture. So we can update our smart content. We can update which tracks of email nurtures and all other type of marketing somebody is getting based on the list they're on, taking them in and out of ad audiences, all of those things. So there's quite a bit that we can do with this one. That's a lot to unpack. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you are going to have something called an IORAD, IORAD, that will give you an on-screen tutorial on how to do all of this. And you're also going to have a recording of this. So you can go through your steps, go through the features, and actually go live and practice all of this later, because I know it is a lot of content.